UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is spending the weekend considering how to best tackle the second wave of coronavirus infections rolling onto British shores. The Mayor of London wants tougher measures imposed on the capital, but businesses are warning of the terrible economic cost.
I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
He said he never wants to give that instruction again. But as infections rise across the country, there are growing questions about how the Prime Minister should respond. Some in government insist further nationwide restrictions can still be avoided if people adhere to social distancing requirements.
We don't want to go into a second lockdown. We don't want to tighten any restrictions that don't need to be done.
But that optimism is not shared by everyone, with Professor Neil Ferguson, a former key advisor to the government on infection modelling, warning new measures are needed sooner rather than later to prevent another increase in deaths. The government have made clear the outright closure of schools and businesses would be a last resort, but consideration is being given to the national rollout of measures already in place in local hotspots. These include bans on socialising outside of your own household and restrictions on pubs and restaurants that would require them to close at 10 p.m. Labour say the government need to show some urgency in coming to a decision.
At the start of this pandemic earlier in the year, the government were too slow. They were slow to lockdown. They were slow on personal protective equipment, slow on testing, and I'm afraid they still haven't got test, track and isolate anywhere near the level that it should be. So what we're saying to the government is don't be slow again.
But there have been further warnings from the scientific community that the local or national restrictions are not long-term solutions.
The question is, are we going to keep doing this and keep seeing these peaks until such point as we have a rollout of a nationwide vaccine? I hope not. But the only way we can do that is through making sure we have the mechanisms and tools in place to be able to stop that, and that is a functioning testing system and a functioning contact tracing system.
The absence of that system is being felt in Blythe, where new local restrictions for parts of the northeast have just taken effect.
It's less than a week since the rule of 6 was introduced across the country, and the Prime Minister is already considering whether he needs to go further. But as part of that calculation, he'll be aware that there are those in his party who believe the current restrictions already go too far and are planning a potential parliamentary challenge to the existing rules in the coming days.
For a Prime Minister keen to show he is guided by the science, that will further complicate his options. Doing too little or too much could both come at considerable cost.